What on earth are we singing? Vlog number 6. Hi, I'm Daniel Thornton, and we've been getting together over these last 5 vlogs so far. This is the next one in the series. I thought I might be kind of running out of some obvious material in my research, but I have so much to share with you today. So there you go. I'll still try and push through really quickly so that it's just not too long. I've been looking at the most sung contemporary congregational songs around the world. There's 32 of those, and today I want to look at a common complaint of CCS, and that is that they're unsingable. Maybe you've thought that certain CCS were unsingable. Maybe you've heard that someone say, oh, no, I can't sing that. Oh, who can sing that? It's too difficult. Whatever, they might use other words. Often, if you sort of press for the reasons, what you tend to get is either that the melody is too high, sometimes too low, but more often than not, it's a complaint about the melody being too high, or the melody being too difficult. And in that sort of word difficult, often the sense is that it's too rhythmically complex for that individual. That perhaps there's a lot of syncopation, and so I want to kind of address at least the range question, because that's a really fascinating one, and the research has a lot to say about it. In my original PhD research, white note keys were the most used in the recordings of CCS. So G, D, and B major had 4 each. C, A, and E major had 3 each. All of those are white note keys. Perhaps you might think of them as easy keys, certainly more guitar oriented. And only one song was in F major, and that was I Surrender. However, only a few years on, the 32 that I'm looking at actually have quite a different profile. So again, C major, D major, and G major have 5 songs each, but B flat has 5 songs. 5 songs are in B flat, which is definitely not your go-to key for a guitarist. Perhaps I remember the early 90s, and a lot of songs back then preferred the B flat. I know Jeff Bullock he really liked B flat major, The Power of Your Love, and a bunch of others that he wrote. But B flat, yeah, why should B flat suddenly be so popular? A major has 4, B major has 3, and F sharp has 2. Not exactly what you call easy keys. F sharp major with 6 sharps. Right? Yeah. The only keys not represented in the top 32 are E major. Now remember, E major was really quite popular in my PhD research. E major and E flat major. The reality is, if you're a musician in a church, and certainly if you're working with musicians who perhaps are not as trained, you would know that the implementation of songs is often not in their original key, that E flat major becomes D major, or it becomes E major, depending perhaps on who's singing. B flat major becomes A major, or maybe B major. Recordings, at the end of the day, commercial recordings, they're recordings that are released to the public, are based on what's best for the artist or the worship leader. It's what is working for them, what makes them sound good, what makes this song convincing for their voice. But I want to point out that that doesn't necessarily mean that people only engage when they have a worship leader who's singing in the same register as they're comfortable to sing in. So Build My Life, in the original House Fires recording is, actually I'm not sure if it's House Fires recording, anyway, in the original recording is in G major. I will build my life upon your truth. It's not in that key. But the Bethel recording is in C major. Now, that's quite a gap. It's almost as sort of far away as you can get. A tritone would be as far away as you could get either side of an original key. And this is a perfect 4th up. Now, the thing is, if you look at those videos, worshippers don't seem any less or more engaged, as in they're not singing any less or any more in the Bethel video or in the other video. Both are live recordings. So surely those groups don't just happen to have the same vocal range as the person who's leading. The reality is that people will sing, either they'll attempt to sing, for better or worse, in whatever key is provided, or they'll sing harmonies, or they'll simply sing it in the other octave that's comfortable for them. So even though the ranges of songs, and we'll look at this in a moment, can actually be quite large, the discrete ranges of sections, like a verse, a chorus, a bridge, often tend to be much smaller, and that small range of that section allows it to be done in whatever register is comfortable for the male or female vocalist. So all discussions, all of the notes that I'm going to articulate are based on the notated lead sheets which are in the treble clef. So I've automatically shifted the male vocals up an octave to get a sense of the of the equivalent vocal range rather than the full vocal range, including the extension of the octave for men. So F3, that's F below middle C, was the lowest note in any of the songs, and that's in New Wine. And it might not surprise you, that's Brooke Ligertwood who's singing that. A female vocalist often has the lowest notes, because we don't tend to have a lot of bass worship leaders. Few of those around. F sharp was the F sharp 3 was the next lowest note. That was Who You Say I Am. Again, Brooke. Even though that song wasn't written by her, and I'm sure it wasn't written in that key. G sharp 3 is the third lowest, and that again is a female vocalist, King of My Heart, but it's also Lord I Need You, Chris Tomlin. So that's the lowest male note, and that's again a third above the lowest note recorded in equivalent notes, equivalent registers. B flat 5 is the highest, which is pretty high. Even a good tenor would be pushing it. And that was in No Longer Slaves, and that's the bridge. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. I'm trying to remember the song. You rescued me so I could dance. It's that one. A lot of people aren't actually going up there, so you could perhaps feel like that was a bit of an aberration, but still it's the highest note in any of the CCS. But G5, so just a minor third below that, G5, which is still pretty high, certainly for guys, and ridiculously high for most girls, occurs as the highest note in 6 songs. 6 songs have a G5 at the top. Across all the recorded songs, there are 2 octaves and a perfect fourth as a range, from the lowest note to the very highest note. 2 octaves and a perfect fourth. That's actually slightly larger than what I found in my PhD research. So whether songs are increasing in range, or whether it's just because I had more songs. I'm looking at 32 now. I was only looking at 25 then. But either way, 2 octaves and a perfect fourth. That seems like a lot. So I started wondering, what is the range of the human voice? And it seems like empirical research is a little hard to come by in that space. However, from what's out there, it does look like 2 octaves plus a perfect fourth is well and truly possible for most humans. Now, it might not be pretty. People might not, it might be a different voice type that's achieving that, falsetto for guys, etc. But certainly 2 octaves and a fourth is not ridiculous for the average human voice to produce. Now, to correlate with that, when I did my online survey of people asking them to sing a cappella, people produced notes in this across all of the recordings that people gave me, 2 octaves and a major third. And so that's not far from that 2 octaves and a perfect fourth, just, you know, semitone difference. And that's when people were singing without any accompaniment, so they weren't kind of forced into a range. That was just, you know, what they chose in what was comfortable for them. The thing is, though, even though I say it was 2 octaves and a major third across all recordings, the reality is that 75% sang within a perfect octave or less. So people generally sang in smaller ranges, but their individual ranges, when mapped out as a whole, actually represented this significant range, which just amazed me in the sense that we think that we're finding a good key or a good range for people to sing in when we pick, you know, something that's in between middle C and C4, C5. We think, yeah, that's comfortable for everyone. That's just not what the data says. And it's not what a bunch of data says. There is no happy range for any given congregation that has more than one person in it. I'd love to talk to someone who's perhaps done other research in this space to challenge that, but this is what I've discovered so far. You cannot find a range that suits your entire congregation. Sorry. So, while no single song covers, you know, the ridiculous, well, perhaps the not so ridiculous two octaves and a perfect fourth, the largest song is a minor 14th. That's Lord, I Need You. The smaller song, if you don't include the octave jump, is Cornerstone. That's just got a perfect fifth throughout the whole song. Or if you do count that octave jump, then the next smallest one is This Is Amazing Grace, which is a major sixth for the whole song. The point is that the range of the melody does not seem to be a determining factor to a song's success. 20 songs of the 32, so well over half the songs, have a range of more than a perfect octave. But even with those large ranges of many songs, the discrete sections, as I mentioned, often have much smaller ranges. So This Is Amazing Grace, the verse, who breaks the power of sin and darkness, whose love is mighty and so much stronger. That's just a major third. That's a really small range for people to sing in. King of My Heart, the chorus, and Who You Say I Am, bridge, all just have a major third as the range to sing in. And then there's so many songs with just a perfect fourth. So, you know, very small, discrete range for a section. No Longer Slaves, the verse. How Great Thou Art, the verse. Here I Am to Worship, the verse. Blessed Be Your Name, the chorus and the bridge. There's so many. So, is success found in song sections with smaller ranges? So can you have a song that has perhaps a large range across the whole song, but you have to write within a small range over in a discrete section, like in a chorus? Well, no, that's not the rule either, because while discrete small ranges in sections are, you know, typical, there are so many songs that have sections with a range larger than an octave. So 10,000 Reasons, the chorus. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Yeah, massive range, a major ninth. How Great Thou Art, the chorus is a minor 10th. In Christ Alone, you know, that's kind of just one section, that whole verse, that whole phrase is a perfect 11th. King of My Heart bridge has a perfect 12th. Lord, I Need You has a perfect 12th in the bridge. Man of Sorrows has a major 9th. And again, I could go on. There's many, many songs with sections that have these pretty significant ranges to them. And that has not stopped their popularity or people's engagement with them. I don't see people stopping singing the bridge in Reckless Love because it's a minor 13th with the octave jump. There's just people who stay down the octave, or there's people who jump to a harmony, or there's people who attempt the octave jump and perhaps don't sound as good as they otherwise might. What does all of this boil down to? That's the question, isn't it? I mean, the data's interesting, but what does it mean? Well, the range of an average congregation is probably larger than you think. Just have a think about that. The range of an average congregation is probably larger than you think. 2, it's impossible to find a range that suits an entire congregation, as I've just mentioned. Keys are not as important as we might think either. So, the guitarist can use capos, keyboards can use a transpose button, drummers. So the idea that perhaps at once upon a time we used to need to record songs in certain keys to make them accessible, I don't think is really the case. I think people tend to now simply record those songs in a key that's really working for the worship leader. While song sections with small ranges, that is within a perfect octave, are most common, large ranges in some sections don't preclude a song from working with a variety of congregations. I mean, 10,000 Reasons is a perfect example where it's been, right at the top of the most sung songs list for years now, and it's got a pretty tough range in the chorus. So people will sing almost in whatever key you make them sing, comfortably or uncomfortably, and it's going to be comfortable for some and uncomfortable for others. And then they will either move to a register that suits them, or they will harmonize. Maybe there'll be some people who don't sing, but that's not my experience in the churches that I'm involved in. All right, so besides range, what makes melodies singable? That's for the next vlog. Thanks for spending the time with me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.